So you guys can see how it mounts in there now. Pretty sure there's a clip before how I wouldn't even, they stuck out so far they would actually hit on the frame. But with what I trimmed it, gives me just enough space for tabs here. And I'll show you guys. I just gotta trim around it pretty much, and it'll be set. So I see probably this way with the angle that the frame sits in, and just pretty much trimming it to fit, and then it'll weld straight to the frame. And then I'll just have to add some metal up here just so it's not just the tabs welded, so it kind of squares it off. But yeah, like I said, I just got to trim. Not sure how much that is, probably a good 2 inches, 1.5 inches, and it'll be perfect. I might do it this way, not sure yet. Probably this way, that way it doesn't risk hitting on the headers. So it's going. Same thing with this side. Like I said, I just have to center it now that I actually have points to measure from exactly. Then I'll start trimming this. Well, I guess I did have it pretty centered. As you can see, the 2x4 fits a little snug. Same thing on this side. You would think they're pretty even, so right where it sits is right where I'm gonna start trimming my ear tabs to fit. And we're set. We're golden right there, man. That's crazy. That was just eyeball. All that's left now, put a level on here and measure from wherever this sits to the frame. Make sure they're even, and then I'll get to tweak it that way. But should be able to leave that there, trim it, and then kind of do it that way and just do final trims once it's centered. So, well, got the tabs trimmed. Think I got it measured where I need it. Obviously the level's off because the truck's off, but from level to frame on the exact same area on each side is like 1/16 off. Maybe slightly more, but I'm not gonna bother with that. I did trim them slightly too short, but I'm gonna tack them in place, and they just get filled with weld. I'll just do a couple passes on them to penetrate really good. Like I said, I'm still gonna add a piece up here to square it off. At the bottom, I'll probably do it. You can't really see where my finger is, but it won't be close to the chassis. It will be pretty much in between here and here, so there's some area for like water and stuff to go through, that way it doesn't create a pocket and rust. This side you can really tell how short I went, but like I said, all that gets filled, and then I'll just do a double pass, and then once I square it off, it'll take care of that. It shouldn't be an issue. But I have that block there to hold it up and level it. Other than that, we're pretty much almost done with motor mounts, at least to where it'll sit out on its own. So hell yeah. So I've got the motor mounts tacked in. To actually finish the welds, go all in between, do that top thing I was talking about. I have to pull the motor. But in the meantime, while it's already floating on its actual motor mounts, I'm going to go ahead and see what I have to do with the headers, see how they're going to fit, just so I have an idea of what's next. Once the motor gets pulled out, tabs get fully welded, add that support I was talking about, top and bottom. And the motor mounts are actually just steel tack welded, so I'll find out weld those as well. But like I said, I'm gonna concentrate on the headers right now, that the motor's where it's going to finally sit. That way if I have to modify them, I kind of already have an idea of what's next. Alright, so doing a quick header fitment. Obviously I got that front bolt in right there. Not tight or anything, so passenger side, you guys can see, sorry, right there, the issue, it's hitting that corner of the upper control arm. So plan is, I'll show you guys on this one, I'm going to trim around it so it gives it that much more space, because this one's smaller than the back. The back sticks out like 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch more. So I'm going to trim it, and then to reinforce it, I'll just put another flat piece of metal that keeps it that small size that I need. And that should give me the 1/4 inch to lower it. And then I will also be cutting the flange off and putting like a 45 so I could go right through that hole right there, versus trying to kick it out away like it would on the Mustang, because this is Mustang headers. Driver's side looks like it'll be a little easier, since the actual header, the whole head is pushed up a little forward, I believe, or at least that's what it looks like from how it fits. Then I'll just have to, on this one, I just have to cut the flange and put a 45 as well, and then I'll be able to bolt it down. I will also trim here just so it doesn't hit, I don't have to hit the head or whatever. So I'll trim it here, and like I said, I'll reinforce it just so it's stiff. But I think this headers will be able to fit just fine with slight modification to that upper control arms as well as the flanges, which I'd rather have the flanges sit lower than higher. Easier to bolt on and off for the H-pipe that I'm going to put on it. But it's going. So I just cut up some brand new headers. Like I said, from here I'll just do like a 45. It don't, because the flange is bigger, so it hits on the frame. So once it's mounted, I'll be able to do the 45 right here, and it'll tuck it right through that hole that I need. Same thing with the driver's side. See how you can see how it kind of points out. The 45 will make it come in away from the frame and right in between that hole of the transmission. But see, now that I cut the flange off, this actually sits flush, and now I just need a 45 down there. That goes right where I need it. Worst case, I need to notch the frame a little bit and then close it, but that's for later. And then I just need to trim right here because it's slightly hitting. But right there, the header is actually against the head where it needs to be. So that's the driver's side, the one that needs the less mods. Passenger side here, see, it's still hitting on that control arm, so it doesn't even, front does, but the back just needs to go lower, and that'll be achieved by clearing that big ass ear from the control arm. So alright, so I got the headers, the front and back bolts on. This side's perfect. You guys can see it barely clear, so once I notch that a little bit, won't have an issue. You guys see right there where the 45 is going to come in handy to get away from the frame. So it's going to need a 45 kind of up and then over, so it might need two 45s there. But other than that, the header's bolted on. This side, I had to smack the header a little bit because I didn't want to keep trimming it right now. So right now it's actually sitting on the header. I lifted the motor up a little bit and then set it down. We'll bolt it, set it down. So as you guys can see, got the tabs welded. All I gotta do now, seriously, just add this piece on top that'll actually weld onto the frame right here. That'll strengthen it because it'll make it more of a square. Same with the bottom, except on the bottom I'm doing it probably right there, so whatever gets in here can exit out too, so it doesn't create a pocket where it's gonna make it easier for it to rust and stuff, even though it's gonna be painted. But yeah, so now I just gotta weld it all up and move on to cutting the old steering mounts for all the steering components since I'm going rack. Might as well just do that now since the motor is out, and then I might trim this a little more. And I got clearance issues still on the passenger side. The driver's side I could really just leave it, but I'm also just trimming it a little bit here. It's probably like 1/8 inch about to hit on the driver's side. Might as well just take care of that now and just cut it down a little bit. But yeah, it's going. Once the motor mounts, now that they're in, it pretty much makes everything just so much easier because I'm not guessing what's gonna sit where and all that. So like I said, now that I got the mounts in, the headers fit perfectly. Well, not perfectly, I should say. They fit. Still need to do some mods. Like I said, this one here, just need that 45 or so. Kick it away from the frame, closer to the tranny. Same with this side. But I got plenty of space here. So if I do the 45 right away, and just keep it close, and then to the H-pipe down at the bottom, shouldn't be too much work. But like I said, right now I'm concentrating on the mounts. That way those are good to go, and then I'll worry about the rest once I get to it. Well, that's kind of how it's gonna end up. And I just need that one down here, and that'd be it for the motor mounts. Off to the other side. And steering mounts are removed. Welds grinded down. Now I gotta figure out what's next, 'cause I don't really know. But, I mean, a lot of progress this past couple days. Everything from here on should be a lot more noticeable, because everything's going to start adding up versus motor being in and out for fitment and stuff. I think now I can actually start working on exhaust, because I could bolt motor in, sit it where it's obviously going to sit now. Start working on exhaust, start working on the H pipe, everything else that bolts up around it. I still got to get a starter, but where the headers fit, I shouldn't have to worry about the starter being in the way or whatever, you know. So, time to drop the motor in again and start working on all that stuff. So just doing a little garage cleanup after doing the final welds on the motor mounts, and then setting the motor back in. Let me get my light quick. Once I set the motor in and actually lowered the truck to kind of where stock height is going to be, on the driver's side that had no issues. On this one I trimmed it some, or else it would have probably hit too. But you guys can see where the control arm corner is actually hitting on the header over there. If I would have trimmed it, that would not have been an issue, but I didn't think it was even going to be close. But whenever the motor comes out again, I just trim that, and I'll be set on that side. This one you can see where I actually trimmed it a lot more. The back is still hitting, so I'll definitely have to trim like a 1/4 inch more back there. No issues in the front. I trimmed it too, but just in case. No issues there. So now I'm just trying to find some 45s. You can see there's plenty of space there. 45 to feed the exhaust right through there. I'm definitely going to have to wrap it. It doesn't get on the firewall too hot, but if I go straight down, it'll only be like 4 inches that'll run right by the firewall, so that wouldn't be an issue. This side's going to be a little more tricky just because how the header points, you can't see, kind of faces towards the frame rail, but the 45 will do, and same thing, just feed it right through. So anything from here on should be fairly less labor, but it'll work.